So Heather, also this week, some positive news, and certainly for folks who are from the more progressive wing of the Democratic Party, the biggest news story, and it's hard to, I think, understate how big of a deal this is. In New York's 14th district, which basically covers Queens and the Bronx, um, a 20-year, at least 20-year Democratic Congressman, Joe Crowley, who was the fourth most powerful Democrat in the House, many considered to be in line for the speakership of the House, was unseated in a Democratic primary by a 28-year-old first time running for office, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and a DSA endorsed candidate. And he had $1.5 million. She had $300,000, 70% of which I believe was small donations. His, I don't know, 80, 90% of which were corporate or massive size donations. Some of the biggest names, richest people, richest supporters, corporate supporters of Democrats in the country donated to him. It was not a situation like Bratt and Cantor, where Crowley had no idea this was coming. He has been sort of like engaged and aware that his seat was in jeopardy. And yet, and, you know, it's tough to measure turnout relative to other years because he's run mostly unopposed for the past 2 or 3 cycles. There was 30% turnout, I think, or I should say 10% turnout, but a 30% increase. Had 25, 30,000 people came out and voted, and not that many, but that is almost by design in New York politics, and we can talk more about that in a moment. But she is an incredibly impressive candidate.
Oh, she's great. And I think, there's a lot of, analysis going on, what happened here and why did they vote for her and whatever. I think maybe you've hit upon one of the reasons, and perhaps the most important reason. She is very, very impressive. She's impressive as a person. She's impressive as a politician. And she had a passionate, engaged message that brought her people out to the polls to vote for her. And there's a lesson in that, right? I mean, this is, if you want Democrats to win, you're going to have to be a person who is out there passionately engaging on the issues of the day. And in this case, I mean, Joe Crowley, he was an ultimate machine politician. And in fact, those low turnout elections in New York like this one were designed to protect people like him. This was the idea, right? You have it on some weird off day, and it's the only election. Nobody knows where they're supposed to vote, and all that stuff, which is just designed to keep a guy like Joe Crowley in his seat. And it did not work. And the reason it didn't work is because that machine is not what's motivating people. It's not just some guy who, works down at the, for the union or whatever and, goes, okay, I got to go vote today. This is people who haven't voted before. This is people who are engaged on this on a completely new level. And I think it's very, look, this is the heart of New York. There's a lot of demographic reasons apparently in this district. I mean, I'm not from New York, but everything I read about it says, it's changing. There's a lot more of a Latino demographic. A lot of young people came out, and of course the fact that it's a woman, and that is making a big difference across the country. That when women are on the ballot, a lot of people are just going, you know what, I'm going for it. Yep. I mean, I honestly think that it's that is a simple calculation for a lot of people, and maybe that's not going to work out in the long run on some ideological basis, but for some people that's enough, and I think that has an effect on these kind of races too. So it's good news. And here you have a place, this is in New York. It is the heart, it is a blue city, and it is important for that blue city to put people in Congress who are not beholden to the big financial donors of that big blue city, right? I mean, that has distorted New York politics. It's distorted the caucus.
And it's distorted national politics in some way, right?
Yes.
Because we should be, I mean, California is out there, and it is leading the way in many progressive initiatives. New York State, by the very virtue of how blue of a state this is, right? There's no Republican that's going to win anything in this state for, eons, as far as I can tell. The fact is that this state needs to be leading the country in a host of policies, whether it's free universities, whether it's some form of Medicare for all, whether it's paid sick leave, and on and on and on. Job guarantee. I mean, we should be doing everything. This state should be a pilot program for every progressive's, wildest fantasies, frankly. And now this is obviously a federal election, but, it makes a difference when the congressperson from Queens and Bronx has the resources that a congressperson has and is able to elevate people, even on a statewide basis. I mean, these are, she now is the type of politician who she can go anywhere in the state and the cameras are going to follow her. And and this is the type of thing. This is why victories like this, as it's one vote in a caucus that does not have power in Congress. Although hopefully in the fall that they will, but it has implications. Locally, she is also. I mean, just as a skilled of a politician. I mean, she's a newly minted politician, but to watch her on TV. And to watch the media try and box her in and categorize her and dismiss her, and her really just handling this stuff effortlessly, it seems like, is pretty stunning. And it really does make you look at the rest of the Democratic Party and go, well, at the very least, why can't you be as good of a politician as she is?
Exactly. Just a good retail politician like her. But go on TV, be... have a personality.
Do not apologize for your positions, particularly in a time where we're dealing with this. And then the real question is, what are the implications for other members of the Democratic Party? Do they see this and they get afraid and they may move left? And what are the implications for the Democratic leadership? And I want to ask you about this when we return. We're going to take a quick break. I want to ask you about that. And then I also want to talk about something that Mark Werner supposedly said at a dinner party that also seems to, and we've said this before, it's Donald Trump reacting to something that's going down with Robert Mueller. I mean, there's certainly reason to believe it. You've got a lot of Donald Trump's friends in prison or on their way to. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. I'm Sam Seder. I'm talking to the great Digby, Heather Parton.